and I've heard Matt Chandler say one time, which has encouraged me, is restriction without affection leads to exhaustion.
Wow.
And he's talking about how we can do all these restrictions we want, but if we don't actually substitute what we're restricting with affection for Jesus, it always leads to exhaustion.
Wow.
And the flesh is weak. We know that.
Yeah.
In the flesh, it is impossible to please God.
So you're talking about there's different things in your life where you've put like restrictions on, such as social media.
Social media, Safari, my laptop, even how I spend my time now with accountability.
Because you feel like you're spending too much time on things that don't really matter.
Yeah.
And what you've done is like you've cut down on some of that and made room for what?
Yeah, I mean, I've made room for intimacy with Jesus.
That's what it's been about.
That's what it's been about.
Wow.
And if somebody asks, I've had the last 6 years, I've cycled back to sin in my life every 3 months, 6 months, year.
Wow.
Whether that's going out in the party scene, masturbation, pornography, things like that. And if someone asked me today, what changed?
Yeah.
What changed? What really brought freedom? I would say I got serious about my sin. I took Jesus at his word. And my heart always wasn't ready. I had great friends and accountability that helped me along the way.
Yeah.
But I cut off my right hand. I gouged out my right eye.
Wow.
And in doing that, I put more time on my schedule to pray, more time in my schedule to encounter the Lord in his word, to go meet him in worship, to do things unto him. And my affections have grown tremendously.
Dude, I think you're hitting on something huge when talking about walking free from sin that seeks to entangle us. It's like, I think some people emphasize one or the other. You just described two things. You described the fight against sin, taking it seriously, setting yourself up for success, like putting up barriers, having accountability, having restrictions, things that will help set practical things.
Yeah.
That's one piece.
Yeah.
But you haven't stopped there. The other piece that sometimes people don't put in is pursuing the Lord, like really.
Yeah.
Pursuing intimacy, pursuing the secret place, like actually creating space for your relationship with the Lord and growing in affection for him. Because if it's just the practical restrictions, things that help us, accountability, and it's not coupled with this growing in affection for the Lord, then it becomes legalistic, self-righteous. It's not like sustainable because we're just kind of trying to abstain from maybe pleasures from the world, and we're not even engaging in the pleasures of the Lord.
Yep.
That the Lord has for us. I think of Psalm 16:11. It's in your presence there's fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. That tells me that God is the God of joy and pleasure. And I feel like sometimes when we, especially young men, and especially in the area of purity even, we want to abstain from the unrighteous pleasures of this world, which is good. And we forget to indulge in the actual Jesus pleasures.
Yeah. Ephesians 1 is he's given us he's given us every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places.
Yeah.
So let's lay hold of the promises of the Lord.
Yeah.
And I love Psalm 16:11. It's so true. And it's not, I think so many people think once I start to follow the Lord, that means no more fun, no more pleasure.
Oh my gosh.
No more. And it's like, no. You're actually laying hold of real pleasure, real joy.
Yeah.
That is found in walking with him.
And maybe people are like, what are the pleasures of God?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, if I want to know the answer to that, I feel like it's like, I think there are some things you can point to, but I think in reality, we know this much. My prayer life the last 6 months has been, Jesus, I want to know the pleasures that come from being in your presence.
Yeah.
You said in your word that you're the God of joy and pleasure. Well, my life sucks. Or you know what I mean? Or like I am not enjoying my life. And I would not describe my life as joyful and pleasurable. Maybe you're at that place. I've been at that place at different times. And I believe like the Lord wants to take us into a journey into the joys and pleasures that come from being in his presence. That I don't think are really like found the first time we sit down with him.
Yeah.
I think it's a lifetime of things to be explored within that arena. And it's like the only way we do that, I think, is by asking him, Jesus, please give me the spirit of wisdom and revelation, Ephesians 1.
Yeah, and the knowledge of you.
In the knowledge of you, show me the joy and pleasures that come with being close to you. Golly, dude. I mean, I talk about my testimony, how I came out of addiction. Some people, a lot of times if I tell it short, like just a short story of it, and I don't go into a lot of details, I just highlight the encounter with the Lord that I had in the dream. And so people are like, that's amazing, you had the encounter. But the long story is the fight against sin that led up to that. And it's like, so I think those two things like are coupled, are so powerful, and you don't want one or the other. You don't want to just be like, well, I'll be free as soon as the Lord emphasizes himself in these ways or have an encounter with him. In the meantime, I'm just going to like wait for him. And the Lord's like, no, like draw near to me and I'll draw near to you.
Yeah.
And he loves to partner with us. And he always does way more than we could ever do, of course. But sometimes he even waits and lingers until we're ready to partner with him and sort of fight against what's coming against us. And he comes alongside of us with that grace to be able to actually walk out what he's called us to.
Yeah. Which I would say has been my last 3 months.
That's amazing. And not just the last 3 months, but you're
course.
talking about how it's just like that's been an emphasis.
He's constantly given me the grace to continue to mortify the flesh and crucify the flesh, which is a long and slow process.
What at the same time enjoying the Lord
Yes.
and his presence.
Yes.
Golly, that's the combination.